You're listening to Big Blend Radio's Lost Angel Travel Adventures show with Linda Ballou, travel writer and author, and your host, Lisa Smith. So welcome, everyone. It is the first episode of Lost Angel Travel Adventures with Linda Ballou for January, or not for January, but for 2026. It is January, so it's exciting. And we're going to kick it off in her backyard. We're going to go to Malibu today. And as you know, over, the years of our conversations with Linda and her reading, if you've been reading her books, she likes strong women. And she's been teasing me about the Queen or the mother of Malibu. And finally, we get to hear about this. She keeps going, I found this, this story about this lady. And then finally, she's here to tell us. So welcome back.
Right. So it's great to be back. And I am a lost angel here in Los Angeles. People think that my book, Lost Angel in Paradise, has to do with religion. No, has to do with Los Angeles and 17 million other lost angels. And I'm lucky enough to live close to Malibu. I don't live in Malibu, but I live in the Santa Monica Mountains, which, is part of the coastline and Malibu. And I have an intimate knowledge of the beaches. I just love the idea of sharing Malibu with others.
It's beyond celebrities, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know a lot of celebs. I know the trails. I know the beaches. I know where to swim. I know where to eat, good seafood. Don't know any celebs, as a matter of fact. They're never there, one of the things about Malibu that is interesting is that, if you go down to the colony area where a lot of billionaires have homes, you never see them. They're always off skiing or going to Europe or something. So the beaches are actually quite quiet, and you can go for a nice solitary stroll, particularly in the winter, as I say, when they all go skiing. So, just because there are mansions lining the shore doesn't mean that there's a lot of people there. So I want to start in Malibu proper, which is where the Malibu Lagoon is. And I want to talk about May Rindge, who is known as the Queen of Malibu. And it's because of her that Malibu is somewhat isolated from the rest of the coastal towns. Most of the coastal towns, from San Diego up to San Francisco, there's a train and the tracks go very close to the coast. And like in Carpinteria, which is just a bit further north of us, I've stayed up there and you can hear the trains going through, and I actually love the sound of the trains, but not everyone does. But the reality is that Malibu was spared the invasion of the Southern Union Pacific Railroad in the early 1900s. They wanted to across Rancho Malibu, which at that time was owned by the Rindges. So Frederick Rindge bought the property, like over 13,000 acres and 23 miles of coastline, and he bought it like in the late 1888, I think. Yeah, 1888. And he loved it there. I mean, for him, it was just he was a very sophisticated man. He had been to Europe, and his vision of Rancho Malibu was to become sort of like the south of France, very exclusive villas and things like that. But while he was alive, it was basically a ranch. And he wrote a book, Happy Days in Southern California, and he wrote several books. He was a very literate man, and he died suddenly at 48. He was also very wealthy. He had inherited $2 million, which was a lot of dough today, but way more then. So the Union Pacific started started pressuring for him to sell, but instead of selling, he put up a gate and armed guards who wouldn't let them cross the land. And when he died, his wife, May, took up the sword, and she, for 20 years, over 20 years, fought the Union Pacific Railroad and all of their lobbying and all of it. She took it all the way to the Supreme Court. It took her all her money, all her energy, all her youth. She died in around 76, I think. But she was broke at the end of the day. She was, really had exhausted all of her huge wealth defending
Ah,
Malibu from the beat of progress. So in the process, there was like a weird law that said you could only have one railroad track in a particular area. So what she did was she built a railroad. She built a railroad from, like maybe 12 miles up of the coast, but it allowed her to take her cattle to the pier that she built, the Malibu Pier, which is still there today and in service today. And so she outmaneuvered the railroad giants by building her own little railroad.
this is
She
wild.
also built a tile factory where she created these wonderful Malibu tiles. So that are exhibited in Malibu today. So today, you have Malibu Lagoon and Surf Riders Beach,
Oh,
which is
yeah.
very, very
Yeah,
famous.
yeah.
It's just a mecca for surfers from all around the world. And it's right beside the pier that May Rindge built. And then the Adamson House, which was built by her son-in-law after she gave that land that overlooks Surf Riders Beach to her daughter. Her husband built the Adamson House, which is there today. It's a Spanish colonial, and it's has lovely grounds that are very well manicured, and it has fountains with the Malibu tiles,
Oh,
which is
okay.
very, very, very beautiful, and it's really quite a special treat to visit the Adamson House. In my opinion, it's one of the nicest things you can do in Malibu. And they have free tours, free docent tours. And housed in the first people to live in Malibu were the Chumash Indians. So the native peoples camped right where the Adamson House is. They have a mural there depicting the Chumash village in 1542, how they were living.
Mm,
And they were sophisticated indigenous peoples. They used kind of a tar material to, for their baskets, making them waterproof. They used it a lot in their tools. And, they were fishermen. Actually, Malibu Creek runs right past the Adamson House and where the Chumash village was settled. So it's a layered situation there that I think is fascinating. And the museum is on the grounds with the Adamson House and certainly
cool.
worth taking a few minutes to see how the Chumash Indians lived there. And, so
Didn't they
they
go all
lived
the way up
to San
to
Obispo.
Ventura?
You had the coastal Indians and the inland Indians, and they had trade routes going to Colorado and all over the place. So yeah, they got around, and they were
Yeah.
an interesting culture. So that section there is the main sort of center of Malibu, although it's
Mhm.
like 20, they said he bought 23 miles of coastline, but they advertise it as being 26 miles. So
Okay.
I'm
Maybe they're
not.
including the pier?
Well, a little further north. I think they acquired some more coastline a little further
Okay.
north. So at any rate, yeah, and the article that I'm sharing the link to here now, this is the main section where I go to swim because it just so happens that by the pier is the safest place to swim in Malibu. I mean, I'm not a surfer, but I love to get into the Pacific Ocean. Yes, it's not as warm as Hawaii, and a lot of local people don't swim in the ocean, but I do. And I don't wear a wetsuit. To me, it's just really bracing and I love it. Yeah, so that's the safest place for someone like myself to swim who's not a strong swimmer. And I wear fins because you do have strong currents. And when you're swimming in the ocean, I think you should wear fins unless you're like at Paradise Cove, which is a little further up the coast, which is a lovely stop. You don't have to wear fins. It's perfectly
Mm.
safe to swim there. The only trouble with that place is that it's become so popular that sometimes it's difficult to get there. They have a restaurant there. It's the closest thing to Hawaii that we have. It's on the sand and chairs and umbrellas and so
Oh,
forth. And yeah, you can eat outdoors or indoors, but it is really when I first lived here all my adult life, so when I first started going to Paradise Cove, it was a little kind of a country diner where the fisher people would hang out because there's a pier there, and it was, very laid back, and you get a country breakfast and no trouble parking or any of that stuff. But now it's like the hottest spot in Malibu.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm not really pushing that. I'm taking you in my article to less populated beaches.
That's nice.
The one that is behind you, I kinda like to talk about that. For people who have a visual here, Lisa she's looking
I'm
at
in the
what they
flowers.
yeah, she's what they call a Malibu Riviera, and the blossoms that are there, these big, bright yellow blossoms are, coreopsis that, only bloom in certain places, but they bloom here on this bluff every February, and it's like a mountain of gold, and it's
Mhm.
absolutely exquisite. So what you do here is you park at Westward Beach parking lot, and that's where the trailhead is. And you take this trail that goes through that wonderful golden meadow
Uh,
up to a platform, a viewing platform to watch the whales. Because the other thing that happens in February and January in the winter months is the whales. They coming from Magdalena Bay. At that time, they're going back up. Or no, maybe they're
Yep.
going down, but they're
No, they're
coming
going
from
up.
Alaska,
They're bringing their
like
babies
glacier
from, yeah, they do their baby stuff in
down in
Mexico
Magdalena Bay.
and
Right.
then go.
And then they go back up to Alaska, where I'm from, and Glacier Bay and other points north. So, but they come quite close to you can see in fact, one day I was down there and I was on the sands at Westward, which is a place that has been a million commercials shot this
Oh,
particular
see?
place. So if you ever go there, you'll probably recognize it from many, many movies and commercials, Bridget, not Bridget, but Gidget. Yeah.
Oh,
Gidget.
Gidget.
And others, millions of others. So I was down there and a whale was so close to the shore. She was like coming in and out, going up and, because there's a deep channel there that they feed. And she was swimming along, and I was running along with her at the same pace for about, oh, I don't
Wow.
know, a block or two. She was so close, it was really fun. But from the viewing platform, you should bring your binoculars. You can spot whale, you can certainly I don't think I've seen sea otter there, but definitely seals and other marine life, There's a good viewing platform. And then if you keep going on this trail, you're gonna get to a very steep stairwell. I don't know, about 100 steps. I mean, you have to so that's why that beach is so unpopulated. It's because the only entrance is this very steep stairwell, so you have to be able to negotiate that. But if you can, it is a beautiful, beautiful long strand of very
Mhm.
quiet beach, and if you need some solitude and you wanna get away from the noise of society,
Didn't even know
go
you could get away
go there.
in
Go
Malibu.
there.
I
Yes,
I
you can, absolutely. Uh,
never thought that. I always just thought, Southern California gets so busy with people at the beach, and
right.
so I love hearing this. It's like certain areas in San Diego. I knew some little spots, but that I had no
Well,
idea
that
about Malibu. I kind of always just kind of, I don't know, like I've been there, but it was like, oh, the celebrity kind of thing, and that's not my thing. And so you're really opening my eyes to like what I've been missing out on. So, and that's
well
good. That's good. And
well,
I'm sure I'm
that's
not the only one,
well, that's what I've tried to do as a local, I know how to get to the places where, there aren't so many people. I mean, there are throngs of people at, Malibu
Mhm.
Pier and Surfrider Beach and the parking can be difficult in that area. So, sometimes I have to park on the street and walk in because the lots are full.
Mm.
So, I know how to get there are a lot of coastal accesses. You just have to know where they're at.
Yeah.
And there have been huge fights over the coastal accesses. One of them was at Billionaire Beach. I forget the name of the guy. He was like a director or something. And he wouldn't allow the access. He wouldn't open the gate. A huge, huge, huge legal battle. He finally had to give it up. Nobody owns the beach.
That's awesome though, but because well, I mean,
Nobody
Oceanside,
owns it.
California, the timeshare tried to take over the beach and own the beach, what was a public land, and
Right.
take it over and get rid of the old historic band shell. And we had,
Yeah.
that time I had a band and we stood up and did a show and just riled everybody up and said, "This is going to be the last time you'll see it." And everybody's like, "What?" And there were like, I think there was like 3,000 people there when we were doing our show. And I'm like, you might want to just take photos of this because it's going to be gone in a week. And it was true. And we didn't like save it, but they did protect it. I mean, so many
Right.
people riled up.
Well, I think is mean high tide, the beach is public, everything from mean high tide. Well, we want some dry sand. You don't wanna
Yeah,
put your blanket on wet sand. So, I mean, I've never been busted for putting my blanket anywhere, you know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, you have rows of these very, multi-million dollar homes, but they're set back generally, and then, you just stay away from them,
yeah, you be respectful.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
I don't want people leaving litter. I want people to be respectful, so, and we have beach cleanup days and so on to keep the coast nice. And
mhm.
it really is a beautiful, beautiful coastline. So there are coastal accesses I mentioned in my piece, Trancas, which is a really lovely beach for walking and swimming. Gentle rolling surf, kind of, not ferocious surf. There are surfers out there, but it tends to be long rolling surf, which is really great for body surfing, which I do. That I do that.
Yay.
Baby cake waves, but, I can do that, I love to do that. So, Trancas, there are, like, 3 accesses on Broad Beach Road, and a lot of people don't know about it, only locals know about it. I mentioned it in my article, because I think that, when people do come to California, I'd like them to enjoy it. I'd like them I feel sorry for some of the tourists who come and, they just go to the crowded places. So, what else can I tell you about
Well,
Malibu? Well, there are tons of high-end restaurants. In the Country Mart is the focal point. In the Country Mart, you've got, several high-end restaurants. You've got a nice Italian restaurant. You've got a sandwich shop there. So a lot of people go there and pick up a picnic to go
cool.
across the street to the beach.
Nice.
And yeah, and that's a fun, nice thing to do. But what I love is the Malibu Seafood Café, which is just a bit north of the Country Mart, just north of Pepperdine, which is a big university here and very famous. So Seafood Cafe is outdoor benches under umbrellas and all fresh seafood. And, I love it there. You can bring a bottle, and a lot of people bring a bottle and a
That's
tablecloth,
nice.
and they have, a birthday and, lots of great seafood. So, yeah, I love Seafood Cafe, very casual, overlooks the sea. You are on a Pacific Coast highway, so there is traffic flying by, but the sea is also just across the road, and you can, you see the crashing surf and enjoy a sunset. And I love the Seafood Cafe.
And it's
And
relaxed. I like that. I don't like when, you want to do the beach thing and then suddenly you have to dress up. you know?
well,
Casual. I
yeah.
want the casual spots I want
Right.
my wine and I'm fine with bringing my own.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, the price of wine in restaurants these days is like $20 for a glass of wine. Why not buy a bottle and,
Yeah. Get it
have
from
a good
someone you
time?
like. And you know your wine. You know what you want. So,
That would be my favorite, and I love their ahi burger, by the way. You
dude,
know,
she's giving you a big shout out today. This is good. Well, hey, but this is the locals thing, and that's what you do with Lost Angel in Paradise, your book for anyone traveling to California. Get your book because you got the hikes, and it's like easy kind of day trips, and that's where we first
right,
met.
that's what I
Yeah,
have in my book. It's not a guidebook per se, because I don't give you maps and all of that. What I give you is a pleasant day walk or hike, maybe a couple of miles. Like, just north of Seafood Cafe is one of the nicest walks in Malibu, the easiest walks. It's called Solstice Canyon. And there's a creek that runs through the canyon. There's very few, water elements in Southern California. We're basically arid. And there is a seasonal waterfall there at the top of the canyon. And it's a paved road, because at one point there was a home back there by the waterfall. This man, who's an architect, he built a very interesting house
wow.
there, and he He collected wild animals like zebras and giraffes and things. He was one of the many eccentrics who live in
Mm,
Malibu, right? And his home burned and is gone just for the rocks framing that frame the house. So that's why there's a paved road that goes up to where the waterfall is, which is very nice for people with kids who are in strollers and older people. You know, it's a very easy, mild walk, very pretty, lots of beautiful trees, sycamores and oaks.
nice.
It's a very, very lovely little walk. But if you're a hiker and you want something more strenuous, you can do the Sunrising Trail, which is a loop that goes up above the canyon overlooking the creek and the area. And that is, I think it's about 3 miles.
Mm.
And that's altogether would be like a 4 mile loop. It's really nice. Yeah. If you're
Day, that's a day.
into a
Yeah.
good hike with lovely views,
Mm.
yeah, I
I
recommend.
miss
Okay, so now I have to tell you about one that I have to explore that's on my list. It's called Charmley. And Charmley is not on the coast. You have to spiral up the mountains on a canyon named Encinal. And once you get there, though, it's level and there's a big meadow and there's like 8 miles of trails. And it's got burned in the Woolsey fire, which was in 2018. So it got destroyed. And I didn't realize it all that they've done over the holiday. I went out there and it's all new. They've got picnic tables all over in these wooded
oh,
areas. They have 8 miles of trails, which before there was just, a small meadow, but it's all an overlook of the coast. It's fantastic views. And in the spring, we've been having a ton of rain this year. It's going to be just a gorgeous spring with the wildflowers. And I'm definitely going back there with my picnic and enjoying a part. It's Charmley. How sweet. So
ah, that's
it's really a really nice addition because before the fire, I didn't really think it was that big a deal. But now I'm really looking forward to going there again.
I think this year there's already been snow like in the deserts, and I know you're going to Sedona. So you may see some wildflowers on your way there.
Uh, I
The
think you're going to be
way
a
back.
super bloom. Yeah.
I think this year in the deserts, it's going to
Yeah.
be magic. And I love the California coast in the spring. I mean, just even
Right.
driving 5, right? You get all the wildflowers and the poppies on the side of the
Right.
road. I mean, it's spring on the coast in California. I get the giddy ups. I get the joys of spring, and I get bouncy out there. And I used to, when I lived in Mexico, do that whole coastal road from Ensenada all the way up La Bufadora where the blowhole is, all the way up the coast and back. And I love ice plant being in bloom. It just gets me all
Right.
giddy, I know, but I feel like I haven't seen the ocean for so long. I had a sunrise in Mississippi a month
Yeah, I
ago,
think
but
you need to visit.
when you don't have the coast in your back, if you're a coastal girl and you don't get your coast, you get a little crazy.
It's true. I've lived all my life on the water. Even when I was in Alaska, I lived on the Lynn Canal and our house overlooked the bay. And I've always been on the water. And as much as I love Colorado and I think Arizona has got some really
Mm,
fantastic things about it, certainly I'm looking forward to Sedona's magic,
mm.
I mean, and uh, I enjoy other places, but I guess I just am a water baby.
Yeah, lakes are good. I mean, there's lakes surrounding where we are, so I can't really complain about it, but at all. It's beautiful, but there is a difference between the ocean and
Oh,
lake. The Great Lakes, I've forgotten. The Great Lakes have kind of tricked me into feeling like I'm at the ocean at times. So, because there's
yeah,
seagulls
well, they're
too.
pretty spectacular. I've not experienced that. I
Oh, Linda, I don't know. I think you got to go to Lake Erie.
This is a big country.
I know.
You've seen a lot more of this country than I have.
It's one of the
Um,
best beaches in the country, one of the top 10. It is in Erie, Pennsylvania. It's a state park and the sunsets. I mean, I literally forgot this was not a coast. And then I
uh,
went out on the boat and there's lighthouses and there's like waves and,
mm,
there's all these birds and seagulls and everything. And I'm like, there's no real salt, but it does have almost to say almost. And then I was like, wait, this is not the ocean.
well, it probably doesn't have the fog either.
Yeah, yeah, it's a little well, it does get ice, like, they have frozen waves. Now that part, I love looking at pictures. I don't know if I've got, freezing ice. I mean, yeah, we got to get in there once in a while.
Where
I
are
do
you
want to
right
see it.
now?
Right now we're in Georgia. So we are
Oh,
surrounded by lakes and trees, and it's beautiful, and deer and wild turkeys and owls. So like it's cool. And so there's a beautiful coastal side of Georgia too. So we'll have to
mhm.
do that. You got me all into doing Malibu and coming home to California at some point for a little Californication. Yeah, so next month we're going back to Hawaii, I believe, and we're going to talk about another strong woman. I love these women. I mean, I had no idea that there was the queen or the mother of Malibu.
Yeah, she's famous here. But it's funny, a lot of people don't know their own history. And May Rindge was a very special woman who, as I say, it was a tough fight to save Malibu.
Coast.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, she did. That's a conservationist,
that's
you know.
right.
And but
Right.
it's
Well, that
so
was the
beautiful.
whole thing. I mean, his book, Happy Days, I think it was Happy Days in Southern California. He was a conservationist. He really wanted to preserve the land and the spirit of the place. His books have a very deep spirituality to them. He was very connected to the land. So, and me too. And I love
Yeah,
it.
me. Yeah. Well, I know. I'm just feeling a little homesick, We were born in Southern California. Now you just got me there, but Hawaii is another home of yours. Speaking, you had some strong women there, and one of them is celebrating a birthday that we're going to be talking about next month, right?
That's right. Kahahumanu was
See,
the
I let you
inspiration.
say that.
Yeah, who was the inspiration for my book, Wainani, A Voice
Uh,
from Old Hawaii.
so we're
Yeah,
going to talk about her.
you're going to talk
So
about her.
yes, I love this. So very exciting. It's good to see you. And here it is in January, everyone, a new year, and it's the year of the fire horse. So giddy up on the beach.
Oh, that's right. The year of the
Isn't
horse.
the fire
All
horse?
right.
Yes,
This is my lucky year.
it is. It's my
Yeah.
lucky year too, because I'm a tiger, and they say that us tigers
Ah.
have a good year when the fire horse is happening. Thank-
So far, so good. That's
Yeah.
right. Yes.
Well, always
Okay.
good to see you, Linda. Thanks.
Yes,
Take care.
Lisa. Thank
Enjoy
you.
those coastal views. I've been enjoying your social media posts of going out and exploring, and I'm like, she's got to stop it. She's making me go. It's your job.
All right, Lisa. Well, take care until the next time. Okay.
Everyone, links are in the episode notes for Linda's books, websites, and her article on Malibu so you can get planning and go out there and explore and experience. And if you do go, let me know so I can feel even more jealous. Take care, everybody.
All righty. Bye bye.
Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio's Lost Angel Travel Adventure Show with Linda Ballou, travel writer and author. Keep up with her at lindaballauthor.com and lostangeladventures.com. You can also keep up with Big Blend Radio at bigblendradio.com. Now, happy traveling.